What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome back to another episode of Remember the Great Sports. I have 4 returns that I'm going to show here. That one's postmarked on the back for some reason. That's odd. Must have went through the machine backwards or something, I guess. But I'm going to open these up and we'll just take a look and see who we got. Alright. This one is from Mr. Jack Brohamer, and it looks like he put a Bible verse in here as well. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Try to get all those on the page there, and he also included a card, like a business card. It's not signed, but it's got his name at the top and a Bible verse. So I'll have to look up that Bible verse and see what it has to say. But Mr. Brohamer played for the Indians. You can see that, I don't know if that's his rookie card, but it's the Topps Trophy rookie, I guess you would call it. And let's take a look at the back of one of these. Yeah, he's only got stats for up to 3 years there. So Mr. Brohamer was a infielder for the Indians. He played a few years there, obviously. Not sure where he played at after he played for the Indians, but very happy to add him to the collection here. Let me just pull him up real quick here and see. Okay, he played from 1972 to 1980, so he hung around at least till 1980. He played for the Cleveland Indians, he played for the Chicago White Sox, he played for the Boston Red Sox, and he finished his final career in 1980 with Cleveland. So he wasn't, known as a major hitter. He has a lifetime .245 batting average, but he played in approximately 2,500 games. One of those guys that never really was, it looks like, a starter. Looked like he was more the utility backup guy, throughout his career. So he never really was the go-to guy on second base or third base. Looks like he played a little bit of third too. But definitely happy to add those to my collection. So thank you, Mr. Brohamer. Alright, this next one is postmarked from Mobile, Alabama. And this is a little bit older player from the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. And that is Mr. Frank Bolling. Looks like Mr. Bolling signed the top one, all in pen. Not my most favorite way of getting an autograph, but an autograph's an autograph. And this Detroit News card is excellent. I think that's a very cool card. I think this was some promo from 1981 with the Detroit News, and it's the 100th anniversary, 1881 to 1981 Detroit Tigers. So just to read the card, it says, the smooth fielding second baseman joined Detroit in '54. He returned after a military tour in '56 and remained through 1960 when he was traded to Milwaukee. He was a solid hitter with surprising power, hitting 15 home runs in '57 and knocking in 75 runs in '58, both career highs. A master at turning the double play, he teamed with a variety of Tiger shortstops, including his brother Milt in 1958. He concluded his 12-year career in '56 with a lifetime batting average of .254. So, obviously, the better part of his career was with the Detroit Tigers. And as the card mentioned, he played with the Braves also, the Milwaukee Braves, which are now the current day Atlanta Braves. So very happy to add that to the collection. I think I have another one of these signed, I want to say by Ned Garver, if I'm not mistaken, who passed away this past year. But he is, known, throughout the Detroit area, I believe, for being a very, very effective pitcher for them as well. So very happy to add these, Mr. Bolling, to the collection. I believe I do have Milt's autograph. I was able to obtain that before he passed away. I want to say 5 to 6 years ago. It's been a while since Milt's been gone. So thank you very much, and moving on to the next one. This next one is postmarked from Pittsburgh. So could it be another Pittsburgh Pirate? Let's just find out. And it is indeed Bobby Locke. That's Locke with an E on the end. So hopefully I'm not mispronouncing that. I'm not sure if Bobby played for the Pirates, because on this card he's an Indian, and this card he's an Angel, and this card he's a Cub. So sounds like quite the journeyman. That's strange. I never understand sometimes why that happens, other than the Sharpie dying, but he signed 3 cards in blue, as you can see, and he signed this one in black. So, okay. I'm not going to argue about that. At least they're in Sharpie and not pen. But very good addition to the collection. Mr. Locke was one that kind of bounced around a little bit, it looks like, during his career. As a matter of fact, if you look at this card, they weren't too original. This, what is that, a 62 tops, if I'm not mistaken? The 62 tops card is the same image as the 68. So that tells you that he was probably up and down in his career, and Topps just simply reused the same photo, you know, that year that they, you know, had on file, or whatever you want to call it, you know, from, you know, the 1962 season. So obviously you would think if he was a more, you know, in the majors more, they would have more than one shot over a 5-year period of the guy. So thank you, Mr. Locke, for, you know, sending those to me, and I appreciate adding those to the collection. Alright, this one is postmarked on the back from Kansas City, which, you know, tells me it went through the machine the wrong way or something. So we will get into that. Looks like he didn't return the sleeve, which is fine. And these are signed by Mr. Dave Wickersham. Wickersham, if I'm saying that correctly. And it looks like a thin blue Sharpie. And it looks like he put a different Bible verse on each card. So, also a former Detroit Tiger. But the interesting thing about Mr. Wickersham is this. He was actually a very, very, very good pitcher. It appears that maybe he had some arm issues, and, you know, I can't confirm that without speaking to the gentleman, but he came into the league with the Kansas City A's in 1960. He also pitched there in 1961, but he wasn't a starter until 1963. And the reason I think he became a starter in 63 was that in 62, as a long reliever, it appears, he only started in 9 games in 62. He went 11-4 with the Kansas City Athletics. Now that is quite a feat, because any of you that may have ever followed the Kansas City A's, before they moved to Oakland, they were in Kansas City after they moved from Philadelphia. And they were notoriously bad, would be the best way to describe those teams of that era. Nobody really wanted to play for the Kansas City A's. There's, you know, been many, you know, sayings about playing there that are not positive. Kansas City eventually moved on to playing in Oakland, and they moved, you know, to where their present, you know, location is in Oakland. So Mr. Wickersham, after becoming a starter with the Kansas City A's, the following year in 63, he went 12-15. So he had 12 wins and 15 losses, which by any stretch of the imagination, that's not great, but when you're on a team like the Kansas City A's, that's actually pretty impressive. But the most impressive year that he had was when the Kansas City A's actually traded him away, and they traded him away for a, you know, number of players, let's see here. He was traded with Jerry Lumpy to the Tigers for Rocky Calavito, actually, and some cash. So I'm guessing, I didn't even realize Calavito played for Detroit, but I'm guessing that was towards the end of Calavito's career. So when Mr. Wickersham got his opportunity to play for a somewhat decent team outside of Kansas City, he went 19-12 with a 3.44 ERA that year for the Detroit Tigers, his very first year there. That, wow, just to think, somebody that had a season like that is an immaculate season for that 64 Tigers team. Well, unfortunately, the following year he went 9-14, 9 wins and 14 losses. Then it was a steady decline. Actually, in '66, he came back with an 8-3 record, but by the time he was 31 years old, it appears that he was no longer starting games. In 1960, he only started 14 games as opposed to his top year, he started 36. And then he went to the Pirates, and then he came to the 1969 Kansas City Royals, and that's where he ended his career. So Mr. Wickersham had an excellent year. That one season in 1964 with the Tigers, was an awesome year for him. So thank you very much for adding those to the collection. I can't quite tell if that's a thin Sharpie or if that's a ballpoint pen, but regardless, they look pretty nice, regardless of what kind of pen was used. This one, not as much as the other ones, but, I'm very happy to get all 5 of those back. I, include these for him to keep, and he was happy enough to inscribe them with his favorite Bible verses, and with Jack Brohamer there, I guess I better pull out the good book and start looking up some verses, because there's 5 different ones here, and Mr. Brohamer's other one there. We can definitely have some good scripture reading with getting these autograph returns back. So in closing, not a bad return, with all these. Just threw them off camera here. But in closing, not a very nice stack of vintage autographs to add to the collection. Thank you for watching my channel, and I look forward to sharing more content with you in the future.